other races that do support the African American race to understand that as an African American, I'm here to help those that need help, those that are willing to accept help, those that are willing to take their life seriously, specifically in the African American community, by not only respecting other African Americans, but by also understanding that they struggle in so many different ways. As an African American, I've struggled. That has been beaten and abused, because beaten and abuse has happened a lot in the African American community. At home, they were abused by the white people in the white community that were racist, the KKK. And so by being abused by the white supremacists, they were also abused at home. So the abuse never ended in the African American community, which made it hard for them to survive, which made it hard for them to love each other, which made it hard for them to love themselves, to be able to love each other. Therefore, I try my best to listen carefully to what the African American community needs. And of course, I will say it 1,000 times, I'm not talking to the ignorant ones that have no clue what they're talking about, that have nothing else to do with their lives. It's not your fault, but it is your fault when you don't rise from it, because now the United States have built programs and schools, educational systems that can help you educate yourself by choice. But you have to make that decision to change your surroundings, change the people that you surround yourself with and that you choose to go live with, and the decisions that you make, period, are going to determine if you're even going to have a future at all as an African American person. So me as an African American, as an African woman, I'm not African American, I was born in Africa, I was beaten and abused growing up. And therefore, it made it hard for me to read. It made it hard for me to study. It made it hard for me to go I wanted to go to school because I wanted to learn, but I was also very interested in the people. In Africa, there's not that many different cultures. In Africa, they don't have Spanish people not in my country, not in Uganda, Kampala, they didn't have Spanish people. They only had Indians. Those are the only people that I was aware of. And the Indians in Africa were black, where they were not black, but they had dark skin because they spend a lot of time under the sun. And so therefore, I was so interested in the cultural differences. When I was in school, I couldn't focus. First, I couldn't focus on what the teacher was saying, first of all, because I didn't know English. When I came to the United States, I didn't even know, like, the only thing I knew how to say is like extend that way or hi, how are you? And I was like, I knew more of British English versus American English. American slang is completely different from British English. As you can hear my accent now, British dialects and the way they talk, they say stuff like, hello, how are you? This is, the corridor, they call the hallway the corridor. They say certain things differently. And so those are the dialects that I knew, extend that way, or instead of in America, they're like scoot over, scooch there, or, that's the regular American way. But in the British, it's a lot more elegant. The British language is a lot more elegant, which I love the American language. It's a lot more easier because, you don't have to say the full sentence or the full word unless you went to, of course, the universities where they have actual college English. So in the African American community, if I was able to come from not knowing English at all to learning English and speaking English properly the way that I speak it now, I may not know all the big words, but I'm able to be respected because of the way I talk, how well spoken I am. I can switch it up. I can be hood if I want to be. If I'm talking to a hood person, I shouldn't have to surrender or bow down to their lack of knowledge of or just speech. But I try to be humble and try to make them feel comfortable, those that have an accent, because even people that have an accent, from a southern accent, they are able to speak properly. They just have an accent. And so if you can, what we would like for you in the African American community is, instead of talking about Africans that come to the United States or Spanish people that come to the United States, foreigners, period, that come to the USA, that don't wear name brand clothing, because I noticed that when I went to school, they were always constantly talking about my shoes, not necessarily my shoes, but my attire, the clothes that I was wearing, versus when really what my focus was the fact that I actually had clothes to wear. I mean, I had clothes to wear in Africa, but it wasn't new clothes all the time. In Africa, we were not taught to focus on our physical appearance, period, point blank. They cut our hair. We couldn't have hair in school. Our focus was not our hair. Our focus was not, they made sure that was not our focus. Our physical appearance was not our focus. They made sure that our focus was our education, because it is so important to be educated in school. Africa does not play. So if you cannot look at America and see the light and the beauty of America, of the USA, and the difference that they have made. Yes, we're going to talk about the bad things they've done, but I can't keep picking on the US, on the white people, saying that this is what they did, as if I don't see a difference that they've made. They've made such a great difference that now that I'm here in the USA, I see how they have made a difference, how they have came from the abuse that they did in the past to the solutions that we see today. I see you can cross the street. Did you know in Africa they don't even have street lights for the kids in Africa to actually cross the street safely? They have to take a chance every day. So do not make fun of Africans, laughing at them. They don't have time for this. That's what I hated about the African American community. It's not the persons that I hated, is the way that they behaved. And if their behavior is evil, then it's you that I hate, period. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't have hate in my heart for people at all. Your behavior is so bad. It's like in the Bible, it says, if the light within you is really darkness, how deep is that darkness? The darkness is so deep that the whole body must be burned in fire. And I'm not saying that you're going to be burned in fire, but a hell fire that God is preparing for you guys. But God is not preparing to torture you guys, because God knows that you have already been tortured enough. Your ancestors have already been tortured enough. But those of you that have no solution whatsoever for your life, like they said, we are working hard to build some sort of hospitalization where we can get you an injection to put you down, so you don't have to face your life. And you don't have to face your life if you don't want to, because we don't believe that people should be forced to live if they don't want to live. If you're not convinced that life is worth living, we're not going to waste our time to keep on trying to convince you that life is worth living, when there are people out there that are ready to actually see and accept that life is worth living for themselves. Also, I am a woman, a person with power, and I'm able to give birth to children. I am not interested in giving birth to children, to like another African American child, because I know that the white race or other races need me that might suffer from lack of melanin. And why not make it easier for my children by giving them good hair, to go to school, to have better quality hair, better quality, like better beautiful skin, perhaps, good genes, better genes. You know what I mean? I love my African American daughter. My daughter was raised in America, was born and raised in America, and I love her, and I'm glad that I had her. But now I want to have mixed kids so I can because the biggest struggle in the African American community, other than their consciousness, is their hair. So try to understand that. To be continued, guys. We'll talk more about this.